like I want it.
There we go. I was wondering why it didn't do anything for a second there. No, I appreciate it. It's kind of a interesting process with that one because they had a remix contest for that song, and I originally had like 3 other ideas that I worked on for like weeks, and just they didn't turn out the way I wanted. But then the one that happened now just came together in 2 days, and it was like, oh, well, I think this is it, and then I submitted it. So I mean, I'm happy with it in the end. So. Yeah, jumping right into the new project stuff. So yeah, no, that's all good. So just to kind of give a little backtrack on that, I had the FMJ name for, well, I had it for a good amount of time, but kind of started to use it again about 2.5 years ago. And so with the new project, though, I kind of came to a point sometime around the end of summer last year, thinking about what I really wanted to do with the music project in the long run. And, you know, I was cool seeing stuff happen with the music. Like, you know, I had Snake Jazz, like getting all this love. And, you know, next thing you know, like ATLians like played it live and all that stuff. And I was like, you know, that's cool. But like, is this what I want to do? Do I want to keep making this music or do something else? So it was around that time that I gave some thought and decided to take on a different direction that I've been wanting to actually do for a long time. And now it's just been hard at work trying to get the project, you know, building up more, getting more music made, getting, you know, everything else to go along with it so that I can get it all set to launch it, you know, later this year. So.
Dope. Two things. One, I just realized people couldn't hear you. Could hear me, but people couldn't hear me for that first second where I was introducing everything.
Oh,
yeah. But we
you're good.
Yeah, no, we fixed that. Brennan alerted me to it in the chat. Brennan says hi, by the way.
Hello.
Yeah. But yeah, no, yeah, I can't produce podcasts. This is FMJ. That was basically all that got cut out. What is this is something I'm curious about because what do you mean about like getting ready to launch the project? Because I think you know what I think a lot of people don't strategize that enough, like, or at least I didn't when I started DJing or, you know, trying to produce music. So like what you know, what are you trying to get in place before you or, you know, what do you mean by launching it?
Yeah, so I mean, it's just one thing to have music made and like a name and then just like putting it out there, but I feel for me when I have like with having a music project, I for me, I feel like I take music pretty seriously, and like it's not like just the music. I have like, you know, the ideas and the concepts, and then like, you know, art and visuals that'll go along with it. And, you know, I want all that to get set. So then, you know, when it all feels like it's all set and ready to go at the right time, then I can like, you know, plan a date to start it, you know, and then like, this is, you know, when I'm going to like show the name and show like artwork and content to go along with it. And then songs will start to come along. And yeah, I mean, it is a lot more like planning and all that. And I never really did that throughout the years I've been producing music. I never really thought about all that goes into it, but especially with the people I've gotten to connect with over the pandemic the past year, you know, I never thought I'd talk to some of these artists that have like, you know, come to make a bit of a name for themselves in the underground scene, and like kind of get like insight from them on, you know, like promoting your music and like, you know, talking about like content and like business aspects, which to me, like, I don't like to think about, you know, the business aspects of like a music project as the first and foremost thing. But, you know, if you're going to want to take it seriously, it's still something that's a part of it. And you got to take that into consideration, you know, okay, well, if I have this music, what am I going to do with it? You know, how am I going to distribute it? You know, when am I going to release it? What am I going to do to, you know, hype it up and promote it and all that? Like, it's just getting all that stuff together so that I can then, when I feel I have enough, start planning it out, and then, you know, getting all set for launch, as I was saying. So
Gotcha. Yeah. I feel that the business stuff has always been really difficult for me to look at, because as I guess I don't like to incorporate it with music, since I feel like I have a really strong connection with my music. I don't like to put that coldness in there, but it's really important to use all the tools that we have now as artists. I feel like you really do have to think, you know, strategically.
No, I totally feel you on that, because I know there's so many. I mean, there's a number of names I feel out there that really do give so much more focus on the business side, and then the music doesn't feel as genuine. Like I can't connect with it as much. Like for me, like I gotta feel something with a song for me to really like connect with it and like think it's got something. But for me to think about that, like I said, it's still like a valid thing. So that's why with, you know, getting stuff ready for, you know, the new project, it really is taking that time. Like, okay, what's something that I feel is going to be like authentic and really like genuine, that really is like from me and what I'm trying to get across. So, you know, it's that, and that took a lot of thinking and time to get that down too, because like I said, I'm not going to just like half-ass something and put it out there and be like, oh, you know, like, here's this, oh, this looks cool and all that. Like it's got a purpose. It's got an aesthetic to it. That's what I'm trying to do with this new project, because FMJ didn't really have anything before. It was just the name and then whatever music came out. And not that there's anything wrong with that, but it's not really what I was wanting in the long run. And I couldn't find anything to really continue with that with FMJ, and starting a new project, you know.
Very cool. So are you kind of going for like a more rounded, maybe wholesome is the wrong word, but kind of like having visuals that also really represent the music in a pretty either dynamic way or a way that you intend for?
Yeah, visually, definitely. Like I even got down to like thinking about having like a specific color scheme that I want to use. Like these colors are gonna evoke what I'm trying to get across, and like, you know, connecting with the music and all that. And I think it's kind of, like I said, I never thought about that stuff before, but like after taking the time to think about it, it makes sense. So it's like, you want to get that across, you want to have it displayed in visuals and artwork, and, you know, help it create that feeling that you're trying to get across. Especially with this new project for me, like I have it, it's very emotionally based, and I want it to convey that the best way I possibly can. And with the art and the visuals that have been getting created for it right now, not to mention coupling along with the music, like it's really coming together. And like there's still more to do on it, but I'm feeling way more confident than I ever have on having a music project. So
that's awesome. You're hyping me up. What kind of one do you have a name that you can disclose, or do you want to, like, what kind of how is it different genre wise, I guess, is my main question.
Yeah, no, that's all right. I'm not gonna say the name. That's gonna be like,
Hush hush, I get it. Yeah.
um, but what I will say is, it definitely is a more melodic direction with electronic and bass music. Honestly, for the longest time, I've been wanting to make more melodic music, but every time I tried making it, I felt like I was just purely like copying Illenium and Seven Lions and like other future bass artists and all. And it just didn't feel right to me to want to like make something that was purely like a carbon copy, which is kind of weird because like a lot of bass music, I don't really have as much of a gripe over if there's like similar sounds and ideas and all that. But like melodic music, I took a lot more, I gave a lot more attention to that. But within actually over during the pandemic, I was introduced to I was introduced to wave music by my friend Aaron, and I did not expect to dive into that music so much. But hearing the style and all that kind of inspired me with some of the elements that it does, because a lot of wave music that I've come to see now or come to listen to now is it's pretty chill, which is not bad or anything, but like I kind of felt like it needed something more anthemic and euphoric and emotional. Well, not that it's not emotional, but like it needed something even bigger. And so I started to play around with different song ideas, kind of dabbling in that style, but trying to bring it out further. And next thing you know, like it just started to feel like something like my own sound that I never really had before. And then I started playing around with it more and making more music. And next thing you know, I was like, you know what? This seems the right direction to go. And I think it would make more sense to have another new name than FMJ, because FMJ has just pretty much become known for snake jazz and book bass.
Yeah.
And I'm like, do I want that in the long run, or do I want something a bit more serious? So
Yeah, I've followed a few artists that have kind of gone through either a name change, or they've just taken up, different projects altogether, which personally I think I'd fully support that when artists kind of want. I mean, like sometimes you might be a little disappointed, but if you feel like, I feel like if you are an artist and you're not connecting with it as much, you just kind of understand that it's your style. It's kind of like being typecast as an actor, I feel like. Yeah, I want artists to have a connection with the art that they make. So full support. I'm excited to hear your new project, just because, like I said, I think you're really talented in the bass section of things. So I think whatever you got cooking up is probably pretty fire too. So what do you? I kind of want to. So I want to talk about your sound design. Like, do you at least for the bass sounds and for the FMJ project, like where did you like what's your, I guess, like favorite synth, or where do you get a lot of your just in your face bass sounds?
Yeah, so sound design's kind of, I've had like that process kind of change a lot throughout the years for me, because when I first started producing music, which actually I've been producing for over 10 years now, and when I first started doing it, it was like dabbling in well, I use FL Studio, and it was dabbling in Citrus with FM synthesis, and from tutorials that I watched during my junior year of college and like trying to like take from that. But then like I started to like play around with other synths and all that. And then when I started to really get back into playing shows again, like 2.5 years ago, I was predominantly using Serum for stuff and just applying what I learned over the years, whether, using FM synthesis or taking something and bouncing out and resampling. I noticed more when I started to take more of a wookier, I guess, approach to my bass music. I started to really rely a lot more on resampling, whether it was from just a simple sound that I'd make in like Serum or Citrus or something, or like I'd find a sample and I would manipulate it in FL Studio in whatever way and form. Because I mean, that's kind of what I did with snake jazz with like the main like kind of like tonal lead that you kind of hear. Because like it was just some splice sample that I found, and I just found a good like pitching of it, and like I tweaked it a bit further. Like I think I did something with ring modulation or something on it, and then it came out as this like what, and I was like, oh, so it's really just playing a lot around with like Serum or samples for me. Basically, is honestly what I would say is my main like sound design approach for FMJ as of recently.
Yeah, I think resampling is the most. I mean, it's been really important in my music as of recently, but I didn't really understand how powerful it was. So it's been shaping my sound a lot, and I think you're right. It's really easy to just kind of go crazy with one sound and just kind of put some really wonky stuff and slap it together, which is my favorite way of making music as of right now. Just because there's so much to explore, and I feel like a lot it just feels so new every time.
Oh, yeah, and that's basically what it's supposed to do, because like you're starting with one sound and then just keep going until see what happens. You never know what you're gonna make. I mean, even then, like sometimes you can get like a ridiculous processing chain on something that will make something, because like that makes me think of like I had my song War Cry that I put out back in December of last year, and the first drop's like main sound is literally just an 808, but I like did this dumb processing chain that I did with like having peaks in like an EQ, but then like cuts in an EQ, and just placing them all around, and then like layering like distortion on top of some of them, and then like it was just this like ridiculous chain to see like what I could make with that. And then like next thing you know, like I was like, oh, this sounds pretty cool. So it's just kind of funny like how those different sounds can just come from when you start with something and what you decide to do with it. So
are you still using FL for your new project?
Oh yeah, I've I've been using FL Studio ever since I started producing. I have dabbled in Ableton here and there. I definitely don't know it as well as FL Studio. And like I said, I'm not against like learning more in Ableton, because I feel like having that versatility for like learning about other DAWs can be really helpful, especially like if you're to work with somebody else and collaborate or something like that. But FL Studio is, I'm always gonna love it unless it does something I'm really gonna hate. So
yeah, well, no judgment here. It's I was just curious. Like the first thing I ever touched was Ableton, and and it's just kind of the luck of the draw. I feel like if I had learned FL, I probably would have stuck with it.
Yeah, no, I feel you on that.
Well, Ableton took me a long time to even like. I swear it took me it's like 2 summers before I actually had any like real sense of what I was doing.
So I'll tell you this: when I first got FL Studio, I didn't even know what a mixer channel was until like a year and a half later. Like I did not know there was this mixer channel like option. Like, oh, I can route like instruments that I'm using to these and like put like effects and all that stuff in. I had no clue what that was. I just delved in. I thought, oh, I can just use these instruments and like write music and all that, and like that's all I was doing at first. And but when I first started too, like I wasn't like trying to make EDM at first. I was just making like little it's kind of, God, now I'm taking like a trip down memory lane, like thinking down this stuff actually. So when I first got FL Studio, it was I got it as a Christmas gift. And the main reason I wanted it was because a friend of mine, an old friend of mine, he had this big dream of like wanting to make his own like animated series and all this stuff. And like he was making like a comic book to kind of like get all these like ideas down, like obviously for himself, like nothing got like published or anything. But like he was like, I was good friends with him at the time. It's like, hey, if there's any way you want to like be a part of it or do something, that'd be really cool. And I was like, I could maybe write music, because I had such a big musical background before, but I never really wrote music. And the only way I knew how to like do something on the computer was FL Studio, because there was another old friend of mine that had it in high school and showed it to me, and I was like, oh, I remember that, and let me just try it. And so I just made random like score music or whatever in it with basic VSTs, like 3x os and like FL keys and like shit like that. I'm like, oh, okay, kind of cool, but it definitely didn't sound good when I look back at it now. And like, I didn't think about everything else that goes into it, but then when I grew an interest into wanting to make EDM, I started to learn more about that, and just time went on after that. So
Yeah. That's pretty cool. I would did that what was it, animated series? Did it come to pass?
So, well, no, obviously. So, like I said, it was it's a big dream of his to want that. He definitely like worked on it over the years, and he actually moved to LA. I think it's been like 5 years now. Nothing's happened for that, but like he's been like trying to get like connections with other people, like fellow voice actors from other animated series that he's looked up to, and I think he's even like had some opportunities with like voice acting and a couple like small acting things. Nothing like big, but like I from what I've last heard, it's nothing really kind of took off on that. But I remember him saying like if nothing did, he'd try and like see if he could like fund something on his own or something. I don't know. It's been a long time since I've talked to him. I hope something's doing well, but it's been a long time since I talked to him, so I can't give a 100% answer on that.
Yeah, well, that's pretty interesting. To relate, I made a score for my friend's video game, which was one of my first like real releases, which was pretty interesting because it was all ambient music, and it was really fun to make, and I love ambient music. But it's because it's just funny on my SoundCloud page. You just have like bass mix, and then like some 20-minute ambient track, and then bass mix again.
Nice.
But well, I think I feel like making music projects for something specific is a really good way to just like kind of dive in balls deep and see what comes out.
Oh no, I totally feel on that. I will just kind of add back to the scoring thing. Like, I do think that's really cool that like no matter how big or small the project was, I still think that's really cool because I still have a strong interest in wanting to like properly score like something, whether it's a video game or like a TV show or something like that down the road. Because yeah, I love score music. On top of it, you can dive all the way back to when Trent Reznor did stuff for Quake up to Marty O'Donnell with Halo until it switched to Neil Davidich from Massive Attack taking on Halo 4 and like all that stuff, and just whether it's like classical, ambient, just whatever, like that. I don't know, like just hearing that, like that's getting me that's getting me a little more talkative, definitely, now hearing that. So
well, this is cool. I completely agree. I really love scores, score music, or soundtracks. I mean, I cry like in movies a lot now because the music is just so fucking intense, and I'm like paying attention to it. And I'm like something I think I cried during like the new Justice League, and I was like, I didn't like the movie. Like it wasn't like really pulling at my heartstrings, but like the music was just like so fucking intense and like fit I guess like all the cinematography perfectly. But the point I was, I guess, trying to make was I've always, I think the thing that really interested me in EDM and bass music was that I kind of felt like all the bass music I was hearing was an orchestra of its, in its own way. And I feel like so that's kind of what I've been exploring in my own personal music and my own my take on things.
Yeah, no, I feel you on that. Like, there's so many different elements that go into it, and you're basically arranging it like that. Because, like, if you've taken a look at like behind the scenes videos for like if people like doing scores, you see like there's tons of multi-tracks of different instruments and sounds for things, and like they got to all like compile that all together, and it's like, well, that's what basically goes into that. Like, you know, it's not too I guess, yeah, it's still it's pretty similar, you know, to kind of like seeing like arrangement with like electronic music. Obviously not on the same level, because one, you're trying to pull emotional strings in like a moment in a, you know, a video game or TV show, while the other, you're just headbanging, you know, the hell out of, you know, whatever bass is coming out of the speakers at your local club. So
yeah, I guess do you have, I think one of my favorite examples would probably be, do you know the Electric Mantis song? It's a remix. God damn it. And Electric Mantis is probably one of my favorite like bass artists who I think combines the two really well. Cause I know what it's like to headbang, and then I also feel like there are some of the favorite music, you know, has been I mean, like, I like that Kumarion remix that you did because of like that really nice vocal at the beginning. It's kind of bringing you out of the elements, you know, into something either more realistic or emotional. So I think but yeah.
No, that's okay. I was just gonna say on the Electric Mantis thing, the only thing I've am familiar with Electric Mantis is he did a remix of Alina Baraz's Electric, and Alina's one of my favorite artists. So like that's why I was like, I knew I heard that name somewhere. So, but I'm not too familiar with anything else that Electric Mantis has done.
I'm gonna send you on Discord the track that I'm thinking of, because it goes through like a tempo change like in the middle of the song. It's by far like one of my favorite, or I think my favorite song that he's done.
Nice. All right, I'm keen to listen.
So I guess on the topic of favorite artists, I don't know Alina Baraz yet. Or Baraz.
Oh god, it was I did not know how to pronounce her name for the longest time. I thought it was Alina Baraz, but then like I heard so she had an album come out last year, and there's a track that she did with Nas on it, and right when she goes into the last chorus, you hear Nas go, Alina Baraz, and I'm like, that's how you say her name? Like, oh my, like I listened to her for like the past number of years, and oh my, I love her music. Like she's an absolute just queen, if I'm gonna use a word to describe her. Like the voice is perfect. It creates this like calming mood. Like I could just rant about her forever. She's definitely one of my favorites. So.
Does she I guess like, do you have like a favorite song of hers? Or what kind of music does she make? Is it pop? Or
well, it's more down tempo, like I guess pop and R&B.
Okay,
is what it is.
Yeah, well, I'm game for all kinds of music. Like I can't produce is all, you know, it's about production, not really just EDM production. So
oh no, I totally get that. Well, I mean, for me, if anyone's going to talk to me with any sort of music related thing, like it's all on the board. It's not just one specific thing for me, and I'm never going to limit that myself. So sure. But Alina, it's like down tempo, like pop and R&B music. She first got recognized because she did a collaboration EP with and I still don't know how to pronounce this guy's name, but I think it's Gallimatis or whatever.
I think it's Gallimantius. I don't know.
But you know who I'm talking about, though?
Yeah, I do, yeah.
Yeah, because they had a collaboration EP called Urban Flora that came out on Ultra, I think like 2015 or 16 or something. And that blew up exponentially. But because of that, you know, she, you know, was able to, I guess, kind of start doing some solo material, and then she built a following off of that. And so it's still in the same manner, although the Urban Flora EP kind of has a bit more of it's a bit vibier, I would say, versus the more kind of chill and down tempo approach she kind of does now. So, but I mean, she still has a great voice. That's what I come back for.
Yeah. I'll check her out too, because I like to throw different genres, you know, all throughout my mix, try and catch people off guard. So.
Oh yeah, no, it's worth a shot.
Always. Do you have any? So like I said, I had a list of questions here, but that kind of got me interested in, like, so you said you have where it sounds like you have a music background, which is something I like to explore with when I talk to artists, because I feel like some of them now just don't. And,
No, I get that. I get
yeah,
that. Like, because I mean, technically, you don't really like need a musical background to get into music, but like it helps. And for me, I've been a music kid pretty much. I'd say most of my life.
yeah,
So,
I'm the same way. I do. Do you play any instruments?
um, well, I don't really play them really anymore. I'll be honest, because like production,
Yeah, you play the computer
all
now.
that. That's pretty much my instrument now.
Yeah.
So, but so going all the way back to third grade, first instrument. Well, actually, there was kind of. So the main things that I had have a background in are alto saxophone, piano, guitar, and I was in a choir. I was in the Appleton boy choir because I used to grow up in the Fox Cities. Although I hated that choir, I'm gonna be honest on that. So
Where did you
but
grow up?
I grew up in the Fox Cities. So like you've heard of like Appleton and like Nina and like all that around that area.
Gotcha.
You know the LED room, right?
Yeah, no, I
Okay,
don't.
well, it's one of like the only like I guess EDM clubs in the Fox Cities, and like they've had like people go there. I think God, who are some of the acts? I think they were gonna have High I'm Ghost before the pandemic hit, but
Oh,
obviously that fell off. They've had some smaller names. I think they had like Dr. Fresh. Spooky Bro opened for Crisley, I remember, around when I started hanging out with him. So like they've had some like names come through there here and there. So
so yeah, I'm just I'm not originally from Wisconsin, so I'm always learning about just like I barely know where Appleton is, and it's just out of sheer laziness at this point.
oh no, you're good. Like I didn't really know how much you knew, and that's why I asked.
Yeah, no,
So
no, I didn't. Yeah, no, I've been in Madison for like 5 years now, but
okay.
I'm originally from DC.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
I actually got a friend that's living there now.
but you were saying about third grade, you were playing. Oh, you were in a choir that you hated.
Well, yeah. So I was in this local choir called the Ableton Boy Choir for up until seventh grade, and I mean, it did help with like giving me some like singing ability, but I mean, I'm not really a singer really myself, but like we were singing like all this like Latin music and like all this other like stuff, and I'm just like, this is not what I want to have a part of in the long run. So when I found out I had the opportunity to graduate early, I took it up immediately.
Nice.
So, but outside of that, though, I mean, the choir wasn't really my main thing when I was growing up. It was mainly the alto saxophone because I played that for God, 15 years. Because going into college, like I had to continue with that with the music programs I was in, and since that was the one instrument that I knew the best, it was like might as well just do that. And I mean, yeah, sax is fine. I'm not Grizz, but like like I can. God, I don't even know what I think I still have it with me actually in my God. If I pulled it out right now, I have no clue what I would sound like back then. So, I mean, I think with 15 years, I think I should be able to do something, but like I have no clue. So
I have an alto sax that I bought like 3 years ago because I thought I was gonna learn it, and I just never learned it.
it's God, it definitely takes its time, definitely. Um, Although if you're wanting to have a saxophone to like swoon anybody, it's the tenor sax because that's what Grizz plays. So
Yeah, no, I mean, I feel like
does he? Oh crap! I actually don't remember if
I
that's what he
I
plays.
think he
I could
plays.
be wrong.
I think he plays the alto. I'm a big Grizz fan.
Oh my god, he might play the alto. Oh my god, I could be so wrong on that.
Well, no, no, no.
It's
Do you know Moon Hooch? You should
who?
Moon Hooch. They're like a sax. They're a
Um,
sax duo. They're pretty awesome. But
That name does not ring a bell for me, actually. So, yeah, I'm guessing they're like electronic and all that, right?
No, no, they're just like
Oh, so it's just like a band.
yeah, it's just two saxophones.
Oh, that's cool. Okay.
Yeah.
Huh.
But one of them plays a tenor, and I'm just I can't. I think the tenor's too big for Grizz to be bouncing around with.
I don't know. I mean, he's apparently a strong guy, so I wouldn't doubt that. So,
I'll send you some Moon Hooch too. I got things lined up in the notepad. So.
Oh yeah, no, yeah. Just send me anything you want. So, God, bringing up Grizz now. Funniest thing with Grizz. I actually used to have an internship with there's a booking agency in Wisconsin called Stellar Spark Events, and they mainly do stuff at the Rave in Milwaukee. And one year they had a New Year's Eve show where Grizz is the headliner, and that was pretty much the one thing that I worked on with them there. So aside from the booking agency, not the greatest experience. Just due to the guy that ran it. I won't get too much into that right now.
Yeah.
But I will say, getting to help run a show like with it had Grizz, OK, Dr. P, Brass Tracks, Artifacts, and Prince Fox all playing at the Rave.
Oh damn.
That was probably my first, I guess, like real like industry kind of experience in some way outside of like like DJing or producing or like, like playing a set or something.
Yeah.
But the one thing that I remember from doing that show is so there's like a bunch of different levels, obviously at the Rave, and I had to like go up to the top floor to get something, but I had to go back to the bottom where like the dressing rooms and all that were, where the acts were. And Grizz just happened to be walking with me down the stairs. But when we got to the door we had to get through, the thing with the door is that there's only one doorknob on it. And it wasn't on my side on the stairwell, but it's on the other side. And there's usually supposed to be somebody there to open it if you just knock on the door. So when we got to that door, I was knocking on the door. And there was no answer. Like the door wasn't opening. I was just like, "Oh, I have Grizz here, and I'm basically having him wait. Like the door's not opening. Like what do I do? So like I'm like texting my manager. I'm like, you need to get up here. Like I have Grizz here. I don't want to make him get antsy or anything.
Yeah.
So I'm like, because I didn't know what to do. Like I never worked anything like that. I'm like, can you get somebody over here? And like, so like I think it took like, I don't know, 3 or 4 minutes, felt longer than that. But I was just like, I could tell he got a little antsy, but I was like, Grizz, I'm so sorry this happened. I'm not sure what's going on. I got somebody on right away and all this. Like they're coming. Like don't worry about it. I'm like, oh yeah, no. But he still seemed pretty chill in his tone. Like yeah, no worries. I get things can happen. I appreciate you being on top of things. And finally, somebody opened the door, and then like he came through, and I'm like, oh, I'm glad we finally got that through. And I'm like, I could tell you're on top of things. I appreciate what you did. I would have you help out with more stuff if I could. What Grizz said to me then. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, I appreciate that. Obviously, I didn't expect anything out of that. But like, I don't know. That was just kind of a funny moment with, kind of dealing with, a headlining act, like that. I never had that before. But like, that's always like the main story I remember from Grizz, and that was, I don't know. It's funny whenever I look back at it. So.
That's well, were you a Grizz fan at the time?
I honestly didn't. I did not know who Grizz was. So I kind of got to know a little bit more of his music, and well, actually, kind of a funny thing. If I never ran that show, well, never mind. I won't get into the podcast here actually. But like, yeah, I never heard of Grizz until that, and But I thought it was really cool to like, oh, he's a headlining act. He must be like bigger. And like when I learned all the stuff about him, I'm like, wow, this is really cool, you know. And then, I mean, now like I definitely love what he's done over the years. So like I'm just surprised it took me working a show to get to know who he is. So
Yeah, I kind of had a I've been a Grizz fan since I was 15. I feel like he was kind of like he was actually one of my real introductions into liking EDM. It was his song Getting Live. My friend played it on like one of his speakers, and there's a lot of guitar and horns in it, and I think like him and Big Gigantic really, they just like the fusion stuff really kind of got me interested. Just, you know, like there's a lot you could do with this, I guess. And you know, I like funk and blues, and there's a lot of funk and blues in here. So
oh yeah, you know, it's probably, yeah, I would say out of like all like the more funky EDM that I've heard, like Grizz is right in my alley. Just he's able to mix like the dubstep and like the banger stuff really well. You got like the groovy stuff. If you go to you know, like Good Times Roll, you know, and stuff like that, you know, like all that is just, I love it. I've never actually sat down for a show of his though. So like that I still have yet to do outside of, you know, working for a show and seeing him play here and there while I'm working. So
yeah, well, so one thing, I not to knock on Grizz, but I feel like that's what I'm gonna end up doing. I saw him for the first time at Hijinks in Philadelphia 2019, and and I didn't like his set. I was a little disappointed. And
I don't know if I like the sound of that, but okay.
Well, no, it sucked. I didn't like, you know, what he put out, which is, but it's kind of my fault for waiting like 7 years to see him live. So I don't know. I don't think it was bad. It just, he opened with Lizzo, and that just wasn't, you know, I was sick of hearing Lizzo at the time. And then he kept on switching like to house music, and there was no funk. And then he would just kind of switch into rhythm because he had that new track with Subtronics out. And and it just seemed like a lot of I don't know, promotional stuff that he was dropping because the crowd was just so fucking huge. So that's just my take on it. I love Grizz and his music, but it was that was my experience.
No, and I get it too. Like hearing where you saw him back then versus when I ran that show. I mean, because that's a big aesthetic change. Because he had more like bandmates on stage with him back in 2015. But you know, hearing now, like obviously with like Grizztronics and all that, he's definitely taking more of the more DJ and like, you know, visuals kind of route from, at least from videos I've seen. So like it's definitely not the same aesthetic, you know, from what I'm thinking about. But you know, I don't know. Like for me, I'm sure I'd still love it. So, but like keeping that in mind, like not having that same expectation can definitely throw that off. So I get what you're saying.
Yeah. I had some high expectations. I had some a high bar, which again, it's not like he didn't cross it, but I was definitely going for that 2015 vibe, and just I was just a boomer there, I guess.
Yeah, it is what it is.
Well, but I was gonna segue into what kind of work, because we met because I was started working tech at Liquid, and it sounds like you kind of did something similar in Milwaukee, during some of the clubs. Were you doing tech, or were you just working at the shows?
So that, and like I said, that was a brief internship that I had with Spark. I was basically like the assistant to the manager.
Okay, cool.
Which essentially with that role though, with the very few things that I did during it, like I basically was like helping like with tax documents and making sure the writers were all set, while the guy that was running it was, well, let's just say not quite doing his job.
not running it.
Which, as you can tell, there's not as many EDM events going on at the rave anymore, even though like they were trying to come back a little bit before the pandemic hit, because like there was the Zed's Dead thing that was going to happen, and then there was like Keizo that was going to come, and like Seven Lions was at, you know, the rave New Year's Eve, which I did go to that one because I love Seven Lions, but I wish it wasn't at but like just kind of seeing that try to come back to the rave. I don't know, just the rave is kind of lost in Milwaukee. Like it's like the Mar and like the Wisconsin Center that are kind of like the main places there. But I didn't really do too much in Milwaukee. It was just that internship I had, and then ever since coming to Madison, it's just been being more active in Madison. So
Yeah. Where did you go to school in Wisconsin for a music program?
So I spent 4 years in college. I started. I was in the UW system. I started at UW Fox Valley. I was there for 2 years. It was just a general music program. But when I did, 2 years there, I was just trying to figure out, okay, well, where am I going to like take it? Where do I want to build it? And I found there was a composition degree program at UW Green Bay, and I was like, oh, maybe I can give that a try. And that definitely, well, I'm trying to think what year. Fox Valley was definitely the most valuable. Well, okay. And then my last year was at UW Oshkosh, and they had a music business and recording technology program. So that was my last year of college then, like taking up on that. So I kind of learned a bunch of different things from, different schools within a 4-year period. But honestly, my first 2 years at Fox Valley, like they taught me I ended up just like picking up music theory like that. And then like I had ear training classes. So what happened with that was, it's, you just listen and like you hear notes and you get those down. And then it's like, oh, what note is this? So what scale is this? What chord is this? It kind of hammers that into your brain. Those classes did. So that's probably like the most relevant thing that happened from all my 4 years of college was from those first two. But yeah, it wasn't like a completely steady one. It kind of hopped around a bit, but it's helped me learn a lot and helped me with what I'm able to apply to production pretty well. So
Yeah. Did you take were they like music production, audio engineering, or was it all like theory and like?
So there was like a couple, like I didn't take production classes. So like there was like some recording classes I had when I went to UW Oshkosh, and like it brought up like mixing and like mastering, which helped me get a bit of a better understanding for that. But like production, I basically learned like production on my own, just from trial and error and the beginning of like actually good YouTube tutorials that were coming around my junior year of college. So yeah, like I said, a lot of that was self-taught, but like the music theory and then like some of the mixing and mastering, I give back to school basically. So it was a combination of stuff.
Nice. Yeah, I really wish that I had taken more music theory classes in college just to solidify that knowledge and refresh it, because I was pretty good at it in high school and like first year of college, but I was doing computer science and I just didn't have the time to, like, that was just taking up all of my brain. So I didn't want to focus on it. But now I'm like just always on YouTube, like relearning all this music theory and kind of like diving into Ableton tutorials. There's so much free shit out there now. So I've been just abusing the hell out of it.
Yeah, there's so much information that you can just find out there just on YouTube, just a Google search, like it's great. I mean, although for me, I had to like get all these books for courses. So like I literally still have the books though, which is nice, but like, it's like knowing all this information that's out there now, like, well, I mean, it still probably went in the same way with like being in that classroom setting and kind of having it like get ingrained into my head, because it's one thing when like you're trying to learn it on your own, and then it's like, are you going to actually keep up with that, or are you going to get distracted by what's trending on the web,
Yeah.
But in the classroom, it's like I'm just sitting there and I got to take that in. So I think that's probably the thing that at least helped me in the end, because I feel that if I didn't have those classes and try to like learn all that on my own, I probably would have gotten too distracted.
Yeah, no, I feel that 100%. Because yeah, I've been trying to apply myself to learning music, and having a little bit more structure, like a class sounds, or it feels like it would help me kind of stick to a sturdier schedule. and that's kind of how I absorb information, just via repetition. But
Yeah.
oh shit, I had one thing just escaped my brain. It was right there, and now it's gone. Um, uh, did, damn it, it was a good question. All right, whatever. Fuck.
Hey, it might come back later.
Yeah, yeah,
I got all the time in the world. So
nice. Do you kind of now I remember. Do you master your own music? I guess talking about like your music background or your mastering. Like I kind of know that that's a big no for some people, but it's like as far as I know, there's no right answer. So I'm just kind of curious on how you approach that.
no, I mean, I know for me, I've mastered most of my music. There's been some times where I've gotten some help from a buddy of mine out on the East Coast. And actually, I'm actually kind of having him help out with mixing and mastering for the new project, because I feel that's going to help give me more time to focus on more writing for other songs in the project. Because like I know how to like mix and master. I may not be able to have like the most. I don't feel like my own are as like, I guess, high quality as the quality as I would like to reach, down the road. And not to say I haven't been trying or anything, but I feel I just put so much more. I want to put so much more focus on like trying to get like a good song written, and just having like the resources available can definitely be a big help. Because like for the FMJ like releases, like the only two songs that were not mastered by me were was actually the Want It remix, and then my other song, Rat's Nest. Those are the only two that were not mixed and mastered by me, but the other ones all were.
Okay. Yeah, no, mastering definitely takes away some of the time and brain energy that you can use for mixing or writing, definitely arranging. Yeah. It's actually something I don't do a lot of. So it to me, it feels like a black hole still, and I'm trying to overcome that barrier.
I mean, the thing with like very basic mastering, at least at the very least, there isn't too much that's got to really go into it. It's just trying to get it at, a nice, a dynamic range and loudness overall, for the end before you, put it out on, commercial, platforms, through a distributor or whatever. But like, because it's mainly going to come down to the mix first and foremost. When you have a good mix, then you'll have a good master, in the end. So, because otherwise, you're trying to rely on mastering is like, trying to say you're trying to polish a turd, and like, that's not the approach to do with it. So,
where do you? This is a newbie question, but I am a newbie. Where do you draw the line between mixing and mastering? Because I don't know if I really, if I don't really know if I know the difference between the two. Because sometimes I feel like in the middle of mixing, I'll start mastering without even realizing it, and then other times, like I if I'm adjusting volume, I don't know if that is mixing or mastering. So where would you draw the line?
I mean, and it's actually just a funny thing that you bring that up before I get into that further with just kind of like having like the mastering stuff starting like right away, because like I can think of like what are some artists I think like I want to say like Getter, I think, did that at one point. Like he would just have the master chain on or something, and then he'd like like write the song, and it's like, oh, it's gonna sound good when you got that stuff on. And like that's kind of like a way to kind of like throw the mixing process in between or something, which kind of works. I mean, everyone's got their own way that kind of works, but I know for me, I feel like when you do like the between mixing and mastering, the mix is the thing that's going to make sure that everything's like where you want it to sit properly in the song. It's not the master that's doing that. It's like, this lead synth is, I have it at this loudness compared to, the other elements. And it's just, you want to make sure you realize that the mixing is helping everything sit together, and that you're cleaning it up more. It's not the master that's doing. The master is just making it, a little bit brighter, sometimes if that's what is needed. It's making it louder. Usually it's making it, more, dynamically set, and making sure that overall, when you look at the song and how it's going to flow, like it's making sure it's that last final check to make sure everything's good to go, and making sure your song is fitting for what you're intending to do with it.
I see.
So that's if that's making any sense. I feel like sometimes that's kind of a hard thing to, I guess, kind of describe. It's because it's more so of a thing to kind of like easier to understand when you're like actually seeing it in front of you. I feel like, in my opinion, it's like, oh, the mixing, you're having everything sit, we're going to do all this stuff, and then I can rely on the master to kind of like make sure everything is like has a nice final polish before I send it off. So
yeah, the way I just understood it was maybe mastering is like a little bit more of a zoomed out approach. Like you're like there, maybe the song as a whole concept, you can start exaggerating, like I said, the brightness or the loudness. But I feel like maybe mixing is like getting into how sounds, micro tuning how sounds interact with each other. Because I guess you can't do that during the mastering process.
Yeah, no, that's pretty much because like there's only so much you can do during mastering if you're just gonna like rely on like having a bounced out, full mix versus like, everything else that can go with it, because like I can think of I can think of like stories from like mastering engineers I've read up on, like if they just get like a bounced out mix, that was done for a song, and they just have that to work with for the master, and it's like, well, if the song needs something more, it's like, and the other person that sent the mix isn't willing to put in the time to go like make those corrections on their end, it's like, well, what is the mastering engineer going to do then? And then they try to do the best that they can to like, maybe the buildup needs more tension, and that's relying on something with volume automation or something like that. And it's like, well, there's only so much that can do, and it might not be as great of effect if you just went back into the mix and fixed it yourself before having to go to the master. So this is the thing, you got to make sure you got a good mix before you have a good master. And that's something I actually remember from my last year of college too, when I was at UW Oshkosh. There's like a whole chain of things. Like if you got, good instruments and like equipment and sounds, you'll have the stuff you need to make a good song. And when you got a good song, you can then start the process to have a good mix. Then a good mix, you can get a good master, and then you got a good song overall, So
yeah, that's a nice flow like that.
That helped me. Well, I feel I kind of lost that perspective over the years when I was just focused on like, I just want to make like a nice banger and all that kind of stuff. And then I was like, well, take a step back and really make sure I'm writing a good song first and foremost.
Yeah, I definitely see, because sometimes I'll sit back and try to write. I guess I don't have too many intentions when I sit back. I just try and convey like a certain emotion that I'm feeling at the time, or like how my day's been going, and I always turned out like trap hats. It's just like it always turned into just triplets here, triplets there, and I'm like, I guess this is what it's come to. So
if that's what happens and it sounds good though in the end, I mean, that's probably what would really matter, So so I only started producing like, I guess only now, it might be like 4 years now, but I started the whole process while I was in college, not studying music production. And I basically only did it during the summer, and then just kind of picked up DJing for parties and stuff. So production now has kind of been my main focus. And the reason I started not the podcast, but like the channel, is just because I really wanted to like really lean into the free resources that are available on the internet now. Who did you like really learn from, like when you were starting? Like who do you have any like favorite free resources out there? Because I'm all about doing things, shit for free. I don't really like paying for stuff unless I absolutely have to. And I feel like nowadays, like
you don't have to pay for a lot of stuff.
Oh yeah, no, I totally feel on that, and like, I mean, you don't, yeah, that's the thing. You don't need to pay for like anything to like learn stuff. Like if you're doing like a paid course, that's more so giving you like connections. Not to say like like you'll get like education of whatever form you're getting, but like it's also, like I said, giving you connection, because it's like you're working with this person and who knows who they've worked with and all that stuff. And on top of that,
Completely agree. Which is,
but
I wish that was like more so what the focus of the payment was.
oh yeah,
Yeah,
no, that
yeah,
pretty much. You know,
yeah.
if you think of like some like, you know, some bass producers, like I can think of like I know I don't know if you've ever heard of him, but he goes by Champa, and he's a really good guy, and he, like, you know, he takes lessons in, and like, you know, if you start to take lessons with him and you get to know him, you know, you're probably gonna, you know, and he likes what you're doing, you know, you could get connections, you know, because like he's got releases on Deadbeats and Wakan and things like that. So, you know, you never know, like not a guarantee, obviously, but like you never know, something could happen, you know, or something like that. So, but like I said, that's just the whole connection thing. But to go back to the free resources, back when I was starting to delve more into, you know, production and trying to like make more EDM, the biggest resource for me that I found on YouTube that helped me was, there's this guy who goes by Seamless, and he does all these FL Studio tutorials. So that's what helped me mainly. But I feel with a lot of the information that he does talk about in it, I still think it can be applied a lot to sound design and mixing and mastering. And like he's not like a major professional or anything, but he's definitely a big nerd when it comes to all that stuff. And he definitely gave like very detailed descriptions on, like, you know, processes and like showing how to do things, and it kind of makes you think about like how to do things, you know, like, especially when it was making like very raw, like FM dubstep basses. Like that was kind of what it started off with. And then it like, he evolved into like more like neuro kind of stuff. And then like some other, so like other different sounds. And then, you know, you just kind of, you know, take from that and see how you can apply it to what you make then, you know. So that's been my biggest free resource that I had when learning production more so back in my later days of college, outside of some of the people that I connected with back in that time. So
Yeah, you said dude's name was Seamless.
Seamless, yes.
Dope. Okay.
I don't think he's really doing tutorials as much anymore, I think, over the past couple of years, but I think he still has a bunch of his videos out there. And it's, God, I bet if I took a look back at them, that'd be another trip down memory lane. But like, it's totally, it was very valuable information. It basically helped me learn a lot. So I would definitely give a recommendation if you're willing to sit through and have like a very detailed explanation for like certain sound design processes be given to you. Like, it's definitely worth a shot to like take that in, because then it can evolve into application to whatever else you're going to watch, whether like someone's doing like a silent tutorial or a serum tutorial or something. You can just kind of take it in all the way around, I feel, in my opinion, because like I said, I feel if I didn't watch this stuff, it wouldn't have helped me be able to have like versatility to take on other videos that I've watched over time as well. So
Yeah, completely agree. There's kind of a weird or production has so many layers to it, or it's just so advanced. I feel like there are so many different stages you can be at, and still either not know what someone is doing or kind of know what someone. Do you know what I mean? Like,
oh yeah,
it's like any other instrument. But you can be really advanced, or you can be kind of intermediate, and you can't really jump into the really advanced stuff and expect to know like a goddamn thing about what's going on.
well, yeah, well, I mean, and even then, I mean, I know like when I think of me with like production, you know, like I still feel like I'm, you know, always learning something every day, whether it's something brand new or, you know, maybe I'm just relearning something, you know. And even then, as the time goes on, you know, you might even think about if that stuff is as advanced as it may seem to be, because, you know, I feel over the years when I've looked at a bunch of this stuff and like, I mean, maybe it's just because of how much I've come to learn over time, but like, you know, when you think about a lot of stuff that you try and make and like other songs that you hear, you know, in like EDM, it's not always as complex and advanced as it may seem, you know. It's just, you know, on the production side, because like I said, I feel mixing and mastering is an art of its own, which, like I said, I've learned as much as I can, and then I'm able to do everything that I can in my abilities. But like I said, you know, there's always room to learn, and there's always something new, like pretty much every day, you know, when it comes to this stuff. So
yeah, well, the reason I named my channel, and this project wasn't really originally supposed to be a podcast series or a YouTube channel. It was just my throwaway account, and I named it icantproduce in turn because I was, you know, beginning, and I just wanted to start putting stuff on SoundCloud, but I didn't want it under my like actual account. So, and I saw a lot of artists I was following had these like second throwaway accounts where they would like spell their name backwards or something like that. And I always thought that was fun, but then when I started getting more adept at Ableton and my craft, I started taking it a little bit more as, I mean, everyone, like a lot of people in my family think the name is like too pessimistic, but the way that I see it is, you know, like I never want to take producing like too seriously. I don't ever want to feel like I can produce. It's kind of weird. Like I always want to stay open-minded about, you know, the things, the ideas that I explore in the DAW. So I always feel like icantproduce is kind of like a reset, like bringing you back to like, no, you don't know what's going on because there is so much to learn out there probably still.
Yeah, no, and that's a cool way to kind of bring that back, you know, with the whole don't get too ahead of yourself. You're not the master of, you know, fucking dubstep and all that shit. You know, it's nothing like that. You know, so like yeah, like just kind of bring you back a bit, because like I know, like for myself, yeah, like I want to keep, you know, doing producing and all this stuff in the long run, but I'm not like gonna like be all like, oh, I'm doing this, like I can do this, I made that, you know, and like, you know, I'm get like a, you know, a high head over myself. Yeah, because that's just when like things get bad, you know. Like I've met people that have been like then like you. I'm just like, I don't know how that's a thing. You just let that get carried away. I feel like that's something you should have paid a lot more attention to, so that you can keep your head on your shoulders. And you really got to keep that going with, well, I mean, pretty much anything that you're doing. But like when you think about production, you know, yeah, just don't get too carried away.
Yeah. No, I feel like it's easy to get excited with production. I remember the first time I got like a really Wookiee track out, and I was like, that was me. I was like, I did that.
Oh my God. Yeah, the first time I felt like I could truly play a song of mine, it's making me think about the first time I could truly play a song at like a show and get like a good reaction. So first time I ever felt like I had a song where I did that was right around when I was starting to come back into playing shows again, around mid 2018. And I ended up making a dubstep song that ended up being a collab with a spooky bro called Kill All Clowns. And the song, it just felt like it had like that energy with dubstep at the time. It just worked. It like, I don't know, just something about like it just seemed to work. And then when I saw myself just playing it at shows that I started to, you know, play around the local areas, and then, you know, eventually more so in Madison, like I just like saw the reactions, and I was like, wow, like this is actually getting like a reaction. I did not expect that to be the case for a dubstep song about, you know, murdering clowns. So not that we're condoning clown murder. That is not what we're doing.
No clowns were harmed in the making of this song.
No clowns were actually harmed. It was just trying to make a fun little Halloween song.
Yeah.
You know, it's just, I don't remember what started that idea or something. I think like, I don't know, because he heard the song when he came over to my old place back in the Fox Cities during that time, to get me a ticket for the Grizzly show he was opening up. And then he was like, what have you been doing? And then I showed him that song. He's like, oh my God, this is so good. Please, can we do something with this? This sounds amazing. I was like, oh, well, I never really collaborated with anybody before, but okay, I could do that, you know? So, and then next thing you know, we made that, and then it just went really well at local shows. I feel like, because like I know Ben still loves to play it. I know whenever I've played an FMJ show, I mean, I'd still play it. It just, I don't know. It's a good fun energy. It still feels like it fits for that show setting, I guess. So
Yeah,
but that's just me rambling about this one song, so I could go on forever.
yeah. I mean, killing clowns is a fun subject.
Obviously.
So before I don't want to wrap things up just yet, because I have one question that I really wanted to explore before I even considered letting you go, really. And that was, were you playing shows all the way up until lockdown? Like, did you have stuff lined up for April or something of last year?
I was about to actually start being in more talks with doing more shows, but that didn't obviously quite happen because of the pandemic. And I mean, I mainly only really was playing shows at Liquid during that time, but even then, like, it would have been good to see what other, especially with the opportunities for like the lineup that was going to be coming for the rest of the year. Like that was,
April
really
cool had a
to
really cool lineup at Liquid.
Yeah, because I remember like before the pandemic, right when the pandemic hit, like there was still supposed to be, there's supposed to be Must Die, there's supposed to be Getter, there's supposed to be Gaslighter, there's supposed to be Sudden Death, there's supposed to be Delta Heavy, there's supposed to be AU5, Mode Step. Just looking back at all those announcements, and like all of those, well, a lot of them, I should say, would have been really cool to have seen, like if I could have been a part of, at least one of them or something. But I mean, nothing happened, so it is what it is. So.
Well, I didn't ask that to spite you. I asked it to...
Oh, no, that's totally fine. Like,
the follow-up question is, how did you kind of adapt to that? Because I mean, that it was so sudden. Like I was hanging out with all the techies when we got the call from Ben. Like they had just canceled April, and like that was the end of our jobs. And I just like from a successful DJ standpoint, how did you adapt? Like, what did you start doing instead?
I mean, for me, like the first and foremost thing for the project is the music. Like, I mean, as long as I'm making music and putting it out and that's still connecting with people, that's fine with me. Like if I didn't have like my desktop right now and like my monitors and all that shit, like I'd fucking freak out, because it's like I can't try and do something that I've been continuously working on through all these years, and all that. Like shows are just a fun add-on to me, and like it's fun when you get those opportunities to can like put out like that fun music and all that, and like just have a good time with everybody and just try and create some energy and leave a lasting impression in some way, shape, or form, which is what I try to do with every FMJ set. I know with like the new project, like there's going to be a lot more of a centralized focus on what I'm trying to get across and all that. So I mean, there's going to be a little bit more of an additional purpose to like sets and all that, but I mean, it's always going to be the music first and foremost. That's the thing for me. So, and I mean, I had a couple live streams I ended up playing, during the pandemic, with like, I didn't expect to play like, with some other names that I've, looked up to. I mean, there was one that I played in July that it had a lot more like mid-tempo artists, but like I knew a lot of them. Well, one, because of one of the labels that I released on that had I think a good number of them, but because like I know with it, like it originally had KO on that lineup as a headliner, but then he backed out, and then we had to get another. They had to get another headliner on that, and then there was like Zonder, and there was like I think that was the one. Was that the one with Weasley on it? I got to take a look at what the lineup all had again. It was completely last year, and I'm like, I don't want to mess up who was all on it again. So, but like that was still cool, like to still like have that on there, and just like, oh, I can just do this and people can just watch from their home. It's obviously it's not the same as a live show. I don't feel it's as impactful, but that's fine. It wasn't like the biggest deal to me in the end. It's just more so the not getting to socialize and see people versus like actually playing a show, I think, for me. So
gotcha. Yeah. I really started doing a lot more live streams when lockdown happened, but I think live streams are here to stay for some aspect, or for the time being, because I've seen some really cool ones, and I put on a few ones with my visuals that I thought went really well. So I hope they stick around, but I do miss like the whole I miss the show atmosphere and connecting with people just in person.
Oh yeah, no, and I mean, I still think like live streams will still be like somewhat a thing, but obviously once like shows become like much more primary in person, where like festivals and all that going to be held, that's definitely not going to be as much of a focus. Well, especially like with right now with shows starting to like lightly come back, like there's like smaller socially distanced things, and well, I mean, I'm not really sure how well kept those are like adhered to for a lot of these shows, but like, which that's still like a big risk. But with seeing cases go down, and then like vaccination like numbers go up, I mean, that's a good sign, and like if things keep staying that way, like then it's like maybe things will be much more in the clear. Maybe there will be like festivals that will happen in September that will happen for sure. Obviously, I feel there will still be some kind of safety guidelines put into place, but like I said, I don't know. We don't know what's going to happen at that time. I don't know how well they're going to enforce it or adhere to it. Like there's so many factors that can come into it.
Yeah.
Only time's going to tell where that's going to all go. So
yeah, dude, I have a feeling that like shows are going to pop off when they actually come back. I think people are going to have so much pent up energy. It's just going to be like nothing I've seen before.
Do you have any idea how much I am just wanting to now, and not to take away from like festivals and all that, but like when a show can get thrown again at Liquid, do you have any idea how happy I'm that's going to happen? Just because that's the place that kind of got me back into playing shows again after all those years, after 2.5 years ago. That was like my first show I played in like years, at like a summit, after like starting to play shows again. And just that place became Liquid kind of came like a home. And the next thing you know, it's like, now we can't do it. And once we can finally open up and do it again, it's going to be like, oh my God, everybody's here again. Like, can we just rage? Can we just bop? What can we do?
Oh yeah,
I can't wait for that.
I hope they throw a summit. I'm planning on leaving Madison in August. I don't know if that'll come through, but if they have a summit before then, I'm definitely gonna jump in there.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it'd be nice to get you into something definitely before that. Yeah, I don't know what's exactly the whole plan right now, but yeah, if something can happen before then, I mean, especially like I've been paying attention at least around in Madison mainly with like numbers. Like I think the other day, I think it was the first day I saw there was like no new COVID cases, which to me, like, okay, like that's one, like how well is that going to get kept? Is that going to keep things going good? And like, if that's the case, and then seeing that the vaccination number, I think is almost at 15% statewide, if that can just keep going up and like the consistency with like cases, like, God only knows, something could happen around August, just in time. And that would be really amazing if something could. But like I said, time will tell.
Yeah, fingers crossed too. Like as the adult side of me is, cautiously proceeding, and the kid side of me is like, let's get into the mosh pit.
I know. There's that balance side. I'm like, can we just do it? But I'm like, well, it's such a I don't know if I want to say bittersweet, but like, it's a thing. So
it's like a reality of life that it's like the risk. This was always a risk to everyone. So, it's viruses aren't new. It's just like we used to live like kings. we used to fucking.
I guess that's kind of a way you could put it, but that
like,
freedom.
Yeah, sharing joints or drinks with people and not having, or I don't know. Yeah, I'll watch movies now and like when someone's not wearing a mask or like no one's wearing a mask, I'm like, oh, stop hugging.
Oh my god, yeah, I get you.
No, I just
Oh
want to
man.
return to that normal where I'm not worried about that.
Oh yeah, I get you.
So yeah, dude, I'm kind of through my list, but two things I have to pee really bad, and I'm not just gonna leave you hanging. So yeah, no. And I also like I am kind of like out of like predetermined questions or like I got everything off the list. Like I extracted all of the knowledge that I came into wanting to get. Um, but dude, I guess yeah, I guess we'll wrap this up. It's been great talking to
All
you,
right.
and yeah, no,
Yeah, it's good to have a conversation.
unless I can, is there anything maybe you want to talk about? I've just been kind of railing questions at you this entire time. If if there's anything you want to talk about it, speak now.
Like, do you mean is like asking like a question or like a subject that's on my mind? Like,
Yeah,
just
yeah,
whatever. Like,
literally whatever. This I mean, music production is, I guess, the theme, but I'm the point of the podcast is actually just kind of to get to know the artist. It's not, like I said, specifically all about music production. So, if there's anything you want to put out on the internet, I'm game.
no, that's totally fine.
Yeah.
Oh, I guess I guess one thing I was kind of curious if was, well, I should say that kind of started making me think about while during our conversation, because I started to get into like a little bit like what I'm like wanting to do with like the new project, and like having a purpose, more of a purpose with like production. And to me, like that's something that kind of became like a really big like thought in my head, was starting to do this and me kind of think about like other people's approaches, like what are they intending to do on like, with production? Are they just wanting to make like fun vibes and bangers and just kind of like have the party thing, or is there more of a purpose? Is there something you're trying to reach to in the long run? So I mean, for me, I'm kind of curious. I love to hear, I know like you're doing a bit of production, like what exactly is, something you're wanting to do in the long run? What is the purpose? What are you trying to like reach? Is there an end goal for you? Do you have like things like that in mind? Like what is it you're trying to do? I feel that's something that's a fair thing to talk about with other producers now, because like I feel like it's going to make people think about like the time that they put into all of this. And like with me taking it a lot more seriously, I feel that's always something I'm always curious on hearing from other people, no matter how big or small. So
Yeah, thanks for asking, because I put a lot of thought into my musical approach. Um,
okay.
and yeah, so I've always tried to look at production and DJing as kind of a pure form of self-expression, and it's kind of the same. So I play guitar, and
Oh, nice.
I've been playing since I was like 12, and that's something I'd really try and keep at it. And the reason Grizz was such a huge inspiration for me was because he kind of meshed and blended the two worlds of electronic instruments and real, instruments that I was familiar with, and that, that people consider real, which, God, that pisses
Yeah.
me off, because it's oh, it's so annoying, but yeah, for normie terms, real instruments and then computer noises. So I was like,
Mhm.
I was really interested in that, and I just like, I actually have like a few like just manifestos of how I see music in the future, and maybe and this is while I was in college. I didn't have time to like, I guess, really work on it, so I just had all these visions of music in my head. So for me, um, I see like really aggressive bass music as compositions, and like I really view things in an orchestral way, because that's what I've always been interested in, whether it be like progressive metal, music that I was really into, or rock music, or classical, or soundtracks. Like it's the arrangement and the orchestra side of things that really, draws me into it. And hearing Grizz and Grammatic, I could really hear the arrangement of stuff that I was already familiar with to like this new, groundbreaking, sound design and funky rhythms, and how to use bass and synthesizers in a new funky way, rather than kind of just having an electric bass slapping on, on a really cool rhythm, which is great for old style funk. But hearing all of these wompy sounds like filling in those notes and rhythms, it was just mind blowing. So I started viewing DJing and Ableton as an instrument, as another way for me to express myself, kind of like how I do when I improvise on guitar or play along, because I used to just play in bands, and my favorite thing to do on guitar is actually to improvise. So with me, I want to be proficient enough in Ableton to just get out the sounds and songs that I hear in my head. And that is my goal. And a lot of times it involves like huge fusions of music, like Latin beats or, pianos. I always look for something that's a little bit more, I don't know, realistic. And then my music's all about fusion. I really want to kind of bring those two worlds together. And because I think that's me, it's always been, who I'm interested in, all of these weird sounds and what sound design and production is. But I also love world music, and I love musicians who play in bands, and their lives interest me too. So really, it's just it's taken my world and describing it via music. It's a pretty personal project for me.
Yeah, no, that's awesome to hear about having that musical focus and knowing like what you are wanting to, combine in the end, and just keep pushing that further and like what you're wanting to do, and I feel like having that extra purpose is, going to help like push like those things further down the road, especially for people that I've met. Cause like, there's some friends, or people that I've met that, like they may have just started to get into production, but the time and like their mindset on it, and what they've been able to make, from having like their certain mentalities helps them make something that's, really cool, and like you can actually feel something from it. But then there's like other people I've met where like, they make whatever, and it's like, okay, this is good. Like this is the song structure. Got to do this. Okay, let's get it for release. Like it just doesn't feel as authentic, and like I feel like that's, that's missing with a lot of, not all, but a good amount of just music in general, like whether electronic or other stuff. Like you need like that additional purpose or genuineness to really have something really keep you going in the long run. And that's, I feel, also an aid, like, if you're going to keep doing it long run, and like, let's say a miracle happens and you score like a big hit that like blows up and goes viral or something, if it's a good enough song, it could be timeless. It could be something people can go back to, it's like, and that was a big thing I know for me with thinking about with like the new project, at least for myself, it's like you don't want to just make something and it just kind of be something in the moment. You want to make something people are going to come back to, like, and what's going to make something, what's going to make somebody come back to your music. And to me, it was thinking about, wanting to have that additional purpose and like goals in mind, that you're wanting to do with your music and expressing in the best way you can, which like from you, like wanting that fusion, if you, and keeping that going, that's awesome. That's amazing. Like that's going to show like, whatever you end up making down the road, it could really, make a much more lasting impression with someone and really stick with them even more so than with other people, like I said, like, cause for me with my longtime my goal with, stuff is, well, with the new project, I think I mentioned before was trying to make really emotional stuff. I want to make music that people are really going to feel, and it's really going to invoke a feeling in them, like something intense, like whether it's, going to make them really happy or, they're going to cry, or something like that. Like, I feel like those emotional connections with music are the things that make us last with, just any kind of music in the long run, even more so than just others. Like it's one thing when you hear like a fun, you know, club bopper at a, you know, a bar, but like then you hear like something everybody sings along to or bops to, or like, you know, and like you see how happy they get from it, you know, like that's another thing, you know, like, so it's just thinking about that additional purpose, you know, with what you're wanting to do with music in the long run, that I'm always just kind of curious about from what people are wanting to do. And it just makes me think like, you know, is there a genuineness or not to it? So with what you shared with me, like that was really genuine, and like that's really great to hear. So
thanks. Some of my favorite experiences in live shows have been like I don't know if you've ever had this, but sometimes I'll be at or I've had this happen at a few shows where the DJ will just play something like ridiculous, so ridiculous that I just burst out laughing. And like those are yeah. So I know what you mean. Just I wanna move people with my music, even if they hate it. I like I actually would prefer that than, you know, kind of it just being dead average.
Well, yeah, and I get that too. You want to still have people feel something rather than nothing at all. But I mean, like, it's one thing to have people like laugh when they have something get thrown at you, because then for me, like, that just makes me think of like, I remember when I opened up for Pegboard Nerds at Liquid back in 2019. I did a back-to-back with Spooky Bro, and he wanted to throw in this just, oh my God. So he had this edit that he made, and it was like building up with all like these, I don't remember what the tracks were, but like, you know, it's building, and then you hear yak, 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 and you're thinking it's going to go into this big dubstep drop. But what does it go into? It goes into Rebecca Black's Friday. And then you just hear someone from people on the ground go, ah, and all that stuff. I'm like, oh my God. And then he's just sitting there laughing next to me. I'm like, God damn it, Ben. like, yes, that was funny. But in the long run, I don't want to keep doing that. I want to make somebody cry. Like if Porter Robinson's made me cry during Language, the 7 Lines has made me cry during, you know, like Strangers and all that. I want to do that. I want that more like, you know, much more intense emotion versus the I don't know what because laughter is still like, it's still like a real thing. Like thinking something's funny and all that, but like it's not on that same wavelength, obviously. So
yeah, well, I like to keep my music goofy, but it's also because I think I'm just a pretty goofy guy in general. So yeah. I feel like pretty bouncy.
I totally get you on that. Which I mean, I'm a character myself, but I know I believe it or not, I'm a very emotional guy. And with that, it's like I want to fucking put that out to the world. Like I'm gonna take what I'm feeling here and I'm gonna make you feel something.
Hell yeah.
Hopefully, you know. Obviously, I don't know until it gets put out to the world. Who knows? Like, yeah, God, that's the thing. God knows what'll happen with this new project. I don't know what'll happen. You know, like maybe people will like it, maybe they'll feel something, or maybe nothing will happen. I don't know what'll happen. But the thing is, for me, I'm doing what I feel is best from what's coming from myself, and I'm never going to know unless I try. So
yeah, I want to this is a perfect segue into the question I just thought of. I think we have similar goals when it comes to evoking emotion in people, because I mean the music I want to make really is all about kind of making you either think or just kind of giving, you know, connecting to a certain part of your experience on the planet. But what so you have a lot more experience DJing a scene like Liquid than I have. I've DJed more around the bar scene around here. And one thing that I actually really want to that I strive for in my performance is getting that emotional aspect from the live set itself rather than just the music. Like the music, you know, can be produced and ready and have like a purpose to it, but I feel like the way you present it when you're DJing really can make a difference, and I feel like you can change things up on the fly. Like one thing that I really like focus on in my project is I don't want my live sets to ever like be identical. I always want like a sense of freedom when I'm behind the decks, you know, because you know you're working with an instrument there. So Do you like to jump and take risks when you're performing live, or do you like to let your music play, you know, and kind of stick with safe transitions or something like that?
No, I get that. In my opinion, when it comes to having a set, I feel you want it to be presented in the best way that you possibly can from how you want it evoked, which I do get, like, having a, whether you're using a, like a tractor or it's Pioneer CDJs or whatever you're using for like DJing, like it still is, in its way an instrument. And like, you could just have your selection of songs and think, oh, maybe I can use this song here. Maybe I'll try that there. Like that is one thing. I know for me, I like to have something. I usually prep my sets, because for me, I feel it's going to help me convey what I'm trying to get out there throughout the whole set, throughout my whole set, within this one that I have, that I'm performing at, and like I perform, bleh, I can't talk. Every show that I do, it's always something different. And like, yeah, there may be some similar picks I do here and there, but it's always going to be a different like thing I'm trying to like push across, like the Tsoki show, that's what I got across for the Tsoki show. Like the Trivecta show, that's what I got across for the Trivecta show. Like I'm trying to get what I feel is going to come across best at that moment. And then it's also going to get aided from the stage presence on top of it. Cause like when I'm on stage, like I'm putting that energy into it. Like you're going to see it for me. I'm going to like, something's going to drop hard. You're going to see like that fist come down, obviously not slamming on anything, but like, in the air, but like, it's going to help aid that and help make sure you like that's getting across, and like trying to be like, I'm feeling this and I'm hoping you're feeling this too, so if that answers your question.
Yeah. I just wanted to know how you approached your sets, because I know my sets could definitely benefit from some more organization, but I'm just obsessed with this improvise idea, because I feel like that's probably the most raw, or not the most raw. That's like directly how I'm feeling at the time, and I feel like that's just the most. I don't know if you feel what I'm trying to say. It's just another way of conveying emotion, or maybe instead of wanting people to feel what the song was intended or what I was feeling when I made the song, like if I'm playing an original, instead I usually want people to feel what I'm feeling at that exact moment. So if I want to do something really goofy, I'll like kind of take a risk and drop it into something that's unexpected. But if I'm feeling a little somber, like I will change my set accordingly. So like I used to organize all of my library, I guess I can't pull it up right now, but my music was organized entirely on emotion. I had categories and playlists of music that were not even organized by BPM. They were organized by like stupid titles like, yo, what the fuck is this? Or, and just a list of just stupid ass names like that. And that was how I really started to DJ. And right now I have some weird hybrid of that system, but I don't usually organize by BPM. I usually organize by keys so that I can just play with what I have on hand. So I take a much more looser approach, but I've been and worked the lights at a lot of your sets, and I like your sets too. So I was very curious about how you went about it.
No, and I definitely appreciate that. But I do get what you're saying, with like the improvisation. I mean, it makes me think of, when I was, because I've taken jazz courses and was in jazz bands throughout college, and and like everyone's taking a turn like to do a solo, like, oh, what am I going to do, and like all that kind of stuff. Like I get it, it's like an in the moment thing. What are you going to do? And just whatever you're feeling, you just play it, and that's how it's going to be. Like I totally get that. But I know, like for me, like I said, to me with what I'm trying to convey, it makes more sense to like have an idea in mind and project it that way. Now, obviously things can happen and things can change, because it's not like I've never done a set where like I had a set planned, but then like I thought, well, maybe I could do something a little bit different, maybe make it a little bit more melodic or maybe a little bit more intense. And then I look back at some of the other, set lists I had, and like I might even combine like one or two together, because I actually did that for Trivecta. Like I had a set that was started, and as it got halfway through, I was kind of in a moody night that night. There was a bunch of weird things that happened. That was the weirdest night. that was the weirdest.
That was my first night.
I don't know if that's something I should talk about on stream, but I will gladly talk about it with you afterwards.
Oh yeah, okay.
But with that, like halfway during it, like I was like wanting something a bit more like in the mid tempo, kind of like to like 90 BPM and like stuff like that, and I just wanted it to really kind of like be a bit more intense, you know, from what I was already trying to do. Cause I knew with like Trifecta, I was doing like the melodic stuff and like I was still trying to keep like a good like dubstep energy, but have some like melodic stuff. And then I was like, I wanted a bit more intensity. So I ended up kind of shifting that about halfway through. And then I was like playing like virtual self remixes and then like, you know, a little bit of mid tempo and like blank and stuff like that, you know, like it, like that's an example of me like having something still change after me prepping something, because yeah, like that can still happen, you know, in the moment, but like it still was fitting along with what I was trying to do in the end. So
what's your favorite like live setup or like
live,
equipment,
like
equipment wise, that if you were to play a club or a show, like what would you use if you could pick whatever?
I mean, if I had the ability to have this for like every single like show I would ever play, it would definitely be Native Instruments Tractor. I've been a Tractor boy for ever since I started learning DJing. I can play on like CDJs and XDJs, but I know in the long run, it's probably going to make more sense to stick with CDJs because like that's just what's readily available at a venue more so, instead of just having the extra time to set up extra equipment. I mean, unless if I had like a different like live setup, that'd be different. But with what I need right now, it doesn't really make sense to like have all this stuff. And I mean, luckily for me, like I know like people that have CDJs or XDJs or whatever, and it's like, oh, I could just go over and just practice on that. But I'm obviously not planning on that right now since I'm not really anticipating shows or anything. For myself, you know, and for the time being, but Tractor's just been so easy for me. Like I was able to pick up on DJing super quickly, and I'm able to DJ just very nicely with it because I like the ability with how it's able to beat jump tracks very easily, and that's something that I love to do when I'm using like tracks that I'm you know, playing for a set, you know, like using it to skip to this part or that part very easily. Now I know like you can do that on CDJs, but it's not as, in my opinion, easy to do between the two. Like I feel on well, when you just use Tractor, it's just a knob. It's just, you just turn a knob, that's it. On CDJs, I know it's like you got to like kind of set it up and then like push a button or something. I could be wrong on how that is. Like I said, I don't have the most experience with like CDJs, but I know like I'm gonna want to put more time into it and like kind of get that down and figure out how I'm gonna want to like incorporate that for you know, future shows and all that. So
yeah, well, hot take, I hate CDJs. But
I get it.
But I've only used Tractor once, and I was a little drunk, so I don't exactly remember all the differences between kind of like Serato or or Record Box or what I was used to. But my boy Brendan was trying to show me why he loved it, and I was pretty open minded about it because I don't like Serato either. I'm a virtual DJ guy.
Okay.
So, but I have an XDJ, and it was because I bought it right before COVID, so I thought I was going to need more practice on it. But I practice on it. I was just tired of every opportunity that I would get to play a show that was like bigger for or like better for my music career. I would get thrown it. I would get thrown in front of CDJs and have like no practice or just not familiar with any of the equipment, and then I bought the XDJ, and I still think I think Pioneer's the Apple of the music world. And I recently tried out a Denon DJ, and I think it's just so much better. But this is like a whole debate that I've had with like people in the past, and I think part of me is pushing a lot of other people's buttons. Like I don't know.
I mean, I get where you're coming from with saying like the Pioneer's the Apple of the music industry. You know, it's an industry standard, and like because like I feel like especially with like production too, if like I feel there's a lot more people that use like Mac laptops than having like a custom built desktop or something, in my opinion.
You have a desktop, right?
From what I've seen, you know. Sorry.
Do you have are you Windows or do you use desktop or are you Mac?
Yeah, I have a custom built desktop.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm a PC guy, which is funny for me to say that because for like phones, I've had Android for the longest time, but within the past year, I ended up getting an iPhone, and I like iPhone way better than Android.
Oh, we've lost
So,
another one. No.
hey, Android had a good run, but you know, I'm sorry, Apple's got me for this. It's got me for this. You know, for PC, it will never get me for PC. But I get what you're saying, like the whole Pioneer thing. You know, like in the end, it's just going to come down. Everyone's going to have their preference, no matter what, and like you know, something's going to just become an industry standard, like everyone's going to use commonly. I mean, I guess like I don't know if this is a great comparison, but for some reason I thought of like if you went back years ago and thought of like VHS versus Beta, you know, Beta was technically higher quality, but guess what? Everybody used VHS, and that's what everybody distributed on. So it's like, oh, okay, well, shit happens, I guess.
Very true. Yeah.
So I mean, it just is what it is, you know. Like but I'm still more than willing to keep learning CDJs and you know have a grasp on it at some point. And who knows? Maybe a year, 2, 5 years from now, maybe I'll like CDJs more than my Tractor or whatnot. I don't know what'll happen, but I'm still willing to like try it and like try and see if it's gonna be the better thing to incorporate. And like I said, it's more so just due to not have as much time put into like setting up and transitioning, because it's like I can just plug in a flash drive, you know, in and just be on with my set. Which I get that's probably the main reason why CDJs are used for like DJing at clubs, you know, because of this that ease of transition. But you know, if it was just a Tractor up there, I wouldn't be saying this right now. So.
Yeah, that was the one thing that was hard, is like that didn't make any sense to me. And this is just because I was so used to, I guess, the good life where I didn't need to pre-analyze all my songs on Rekordbox and then like pop them into a pipe. Like that made no sense to me when I first started using it. But I feel like my whole gripe with CDJs is this and that whole Android part of my brain where I'm just, you know, just geeky about all the other shit that, you know, other things can do. And I just I don't know. I'm still a firm Android guy, and it's just because I'm an asshole really at heart.
I don't think being an Android lover has to do with being an asshole.
No,
I don't think that's what it should be. But like, I mean, I totally, you know, like if that's still your preference, like that's totally fine. You know, I just felt it was worth a change, you know, to see the iPhone was gonna be better, and lo and behold, I mean, even just like the smaller aesthetic things, like, you know, the camera on the iPhone. I personally like the iPhone camera better than the Android, you know, like even something smaller like that, like it personally got my attention and got my personal wants and needs. And then it just went from there. I think, who knows how long I'm going to be an iPhone guy. Maybe I might go back to Android. I don't know.
I think instead of asshole, I could have said stubborn, because I actually prefer the iPhone camera too.
Yeah. No. I totally get it. I totally get it. And like that actually makes me think of a bunch of my old friends from back in the Fox Cities, because they were brought up, you know, Microsoft, PC, Xbox, all kinds of stuff like that. And like if Mac got brought up, it would just be like, oh my God, he's a Mac user. And just like I was like, so it kind of influenced me a little bit. But you know, it's still just I still kept in mind like, is there something with Apple that I could like or not? I will say still, I do not like Mac computers. I do not like navigating on them. I do not like a single thing about them. PC is where it's at. So that's just my personal preference. Like I said, I don't know. Maybe that could change years from now. You know, I don't know what'll happen. But they got me on the iPhone. I will tell them that.
Dude, it's so funny how like illiterate I am in iPhone, even though I know it's like the simplest thing ever. I feel like an 80-year-old man when you put an iPhone in front of me. I'm like, what is this? How do I unlock this thing? Like, how do I get to the pin pad? Turn on the flash. It's so funny, dude. I'm so illiterate when you put an iPhone in front of me. Then when they got rid of the home button, like what the fuck? No, stop.
Oh yeah, the home button. I remember seeing that because there's a lot of other friends I had. Well, even my brother too for the longest time. Like had like iPhone before I ever made the switch, and like I remember that little home button on there, and it felt like such an annoying thing to have on the phone to me, you know. Like I don't know why, but that's just a whole other random conversation there that I can just rant about.
Yeah, no, let's go on for 2 hours about the logistics of the home button and whether or not.
That's gonna go somewhere.
That is internet gold.
That'll be great content for the internet. You know, having this debate. Maybe it'll go viral. Who knows?
You never know what people are into these days.
Yeah, you never know.
Okay, well, now I'm definitely busting out the seams. I'm going to the bathroom now. But homie, it's been great talking to you. We should, if you're, do you use Discord a lot? Because I would love to have you in the icantproduce server.
Yeah, I mean, I use it not as much as I used to at the start of the pandemic, but I still use it here and there. I may not.
We don't ping.
Pop in here and there.
Yeah, we don't ping everybody. I learned that lesson a while ago, so you won't unless you want notifications from us, you won't really get any.
No, that's like I'm more than happy to be in it if you want to send an invite, and then whenever I pop in or here and there, I can always be like, oh, what's going on or something, So
yeah, no, we're all just like, if you pop in, you'll probably just see like production questions or just we'd always appreciate your input on your experience, because we're just a bunch of newbies or people who are interested in learning. So hopefully we'll get up to a more professional level, but I guess we'll be doing that together. So
yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm always happy to help out in any way I can. I mean, like I said, I don't consider myself an expert by any means, but like I said, I've been able to learn stuff over the years, and I just share what I've learned, and maybe it'll help you or it won't. That's the thing.
Yeah, but no, that's a great attitude, and that's what we're all about. And dude, yeah. So thanks for hopping on, man. I'm glad we got to actually like talk, and I learned a lot. It's been really cool sharing our different ideas together.
Yeah, no, I'm glad we got to talk. This is fun.
So yeah, homie. Chris, right? That's your name.
It is Chris.
Okay,
yes.
Great. Wait, what? So last question, and then the actually last question. What is FM?
No, you're good.
Where did Full Metal? What is it? Full Metal Jacket? Is that what that means?
So FMJ stands for Full Metal Jackson.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
And the reason for that name. The name was actually an ode to an old friend of mine who unfortunately is no longer with us. But back in high school is when I met him, and he was the most insane guitarist I ever met. He could play Master of Puppets and Pantera and Slayer so damn well. He was so good at what he did, and I never really I always loved rock and metal, growing up as a teenager. But I never really knew guitar myself, and I never really knew anybody that played guitar. So it's I couldn't really see that firsthand. But when I saw, what he did, I was like, whoa, this is amazing. And that honestly was my first inspiration, consider writing music, but I didn't know what to do really, but that was until I stumbled upon the electronic music world. I was like, oh, maybe this is where it is. But the name is an ode to him combining the movie Full Metal Jacket, which was his favorite movie, but I switched Jacket at the end to Jackson because he always played a Jackson guitar.
Oh, that's really sweet, and I'm sorry that he's no longer with us. That's unfortunate.
Yeah, no, and it's it's unfortunate. But he made a huge impact on a lot of people, well, including me, because I ended up wanting to write music in the long run, and if he was here today, I mean, it's definitely not his taste in. Well, actually, I remember right around when Skrillex was starting to get big, he did have he did start to grow an interest in dubstep. So I don't know. For all I know, maybe he would have taken up production and then could have seen where things went with that. I don't know, but I mean, just. He was a great guy, and definitely would have been different if he was still here today. So, but
it goes to show that you're always you can make waves long after your time, which is I think something that I try to remind myself of when I start taking myself too seriously.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
no, I
yeah.
just
Uh,
because of him, just did not expect the impact, but it just went to show someone can just pop in your life and do something for you that you don't see coming, And I mean, another example of someone like that is, Spooky Bro Ben. If I never met him at the job we used to have, I don't think I would be playing shows again and had all these opportunities, It was literally because of him that I got to start being back into things, So
that was really cool. I didn't know that he helped you get into music, back into the scene, so much.
well, I mean, I guess I wasn't really like into a scene. Like it was just more so like during my last year of college, like there was like a DJ club I was in, and like there's like fellow enthusiasts and all that. And like that was kind of fun. Well, actually, fun fact with that, one of the people in there was a producer who goes by Nor the Boy, and I don't know if you ever heard of him, but he's now like a bigger like underground weird bass name, and like he's in Portland now. He helped out on a DJ Shadow album. He's had releases on one of Noise's labels. Like, so he's made a bit of a name for himself. So that's just a fun fact aside
I
from that.
totally have a bunch of his songs liked.
Yeah,
I'm looking at it right now.
Nice. Yeah, he's got the weird stuff. Definitely not as much up my alley, but like I still appreciate what he does and all that stuff. But like it was just during that time I just knew a couple people, and like we played like a couple shows around like the Oshkosh area. That was fine, and I didn't really know anybody for the longest time. And then next thing you know, I have a job on a sales team. And then lo and behold, Ben's on the team. I'm his advisor, and him and I just start talking. And then he's like, "Oh, come to these things." I'm like, "Oh, okay." And then I did. And next thing you know, I'm playing a summit at Liquid. I released a song for the first time in years, and he's sharing it around. Now people are asking me to play shows. Oh, here's some more shows. Here's some more music. Oh, why don't you do this? And I'm like,
so cool, man.
That would happen.
That's how that goes, man. That's awesome.
Yeah. It's funny. I didn't. Some random guy at a sales job didn't think that would happen, and now is one of my closest friends. So.
Yeah, well, like I think the first time we met, I basically like told you that you and Spooky Bro were definitely my. I mean, it was just cool to see that you guys were making the type of music I liked locally. So I mean, I've never had a conversation with Spooky Bro. I'd love to have him on the podcast, I guess, but that's the time. Maybe I'll reach out to him actually, because I don't.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to, you can. I don't know how open he is to doing podcasts. I mean, for me, I'm just happy to chat with whoever.
Yeah.
Maybe he'll like it. Maybe he won't. I don't know. So
no. I've just been trying to get basically anybody who piques my interest on the show, and but on that note, dude, awesome having you. I'm gonna play your song. God, I have to get back to it. The newest one that you put out, because I was looking at Nowhere the Boy. Oh yeah, what do you have? It's a remix of Direct Approach.
Yeah, that's one of my last FMJ releases. That's the second to last one, and then I have one more coming out with Nightfall Heroes on April 9th. It's not very wookie. It's a lot more synth wavy and mid-tempo-y, but I pretty much write whatever under FMJ, and that's what the last track's going to be at this point, unless I dig up an old track or something and I drop it, but that's what it is right now. So
yeah, for sure. No, I'm super excited to see what your project holds in the future, and honestly, I'll listen to anything that you put out now. I'm following you now on SoundCloud. I don't know why I wasn't before.
Hey, no, you're good, but I appreciate that, man. Any love and support always means a lot to me.
Dope. To I guess I don't know how many people we have in the chat. To the hi, Brazil, Rio de Janeiro. Whoa, we had somebody from Brazil hop into the chat at the very last second. I'm sorry the podcast is ending, my homie.
It is what it is.
It is what it is. Watch what you can and go back if you like it. To everybody watching and anybody in the past, present, or the future, this has been I Can't Produce a Podcast. Our guest, Chris FMJ, has been awesome, and I'm going to play one of his newest songs and one of the last songs on the project, unfortunately, but looking forward to a bright new future that I will definitely support with your next project, Chris. So it's been great having you, man. I'll send you the link, bro. Peace out.
Thanks so much. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, buddy. Anytime. All right. Back to the music.
Fools, hiding only prolongs your agony. Time for a more direct approach.
Dude, you watch One Piece? You're fucking edgy.